All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to uncover a surprising truth about getting wealthy, all inspired by the work of Morgan Housel. And here's a hint for you. It has almost nothing to do with how smart you are.
So let me ask you this. To get rich, do you have to be a genius? I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? We're all taught to think that being smarter is the key to everything. But what if that's just completely wrong? This idea just flips everything we think we know on its head. As the quote says, a genius who loses control of their emotions can be a financial disaster. What that's really saying is that your behavior, not your brain power, is what truly drives wealth. Let's see what that actually looks like in the real world. And that brings us to a pretty dramatic story, a real cautionary tale that proves that being a genius, well, it's just not enough. Okay, so picture this. Tech executive, an actual certified genius who helped invent the very Wi-Fi we're all using right now. This guy was so successful, he'd take his friends out to the ocean and literally throw $1,000 gold coins into the water just for fun. His IQ was off the charts, but his behavior was completely out of control. And the result? He went totally broke. And here's the crucial lesson, right? Financial success isn't really a test of your intelligence. It's a test of your behavior. This is the core idea we're digging into, and nothing, I mean nothing, illustrates it better than the incredible story of two very, very different men. Up next, we've got one of the most powerful case studies you will probably ever hear, the story of a humble janitor versus a top-tier Wall Street executive. So on one side, you have Ronald Reed, a lifelong janitor and gas station attendant. On the other, Richard Fascone, a Harvard-educated big-shot executive at Merrill Lynch. Now, based on their resumes, you'd bet the farm on Fascone, right? But their strategies couldn't have been more different. One patiently saved and just waited, while the other borrowed a ton of money to live this incredibly lavish lifestyle. The outcomes? Well, they defy all expectations. Ronald Reed died a multimillionaire, leaving over $8 million behind, while Richard Fascone declared bankruptcy. The gap between them had absolutely nothing to do with their education or their experience. It all came down to something much simpler and way more powerful: patience versus greed. But that just raises a really fascinating question, doesn't it? You would never, ever hear a story about a janitor performing a better heart transplant than a Harvard-trained surgeon. So why can this kind of thing happen with money? What makes finance so different? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful concept called no one's crazy. It gets right to the heart of why an ordinary person can actually outperform a genius, and why we all make financial decisions that might seem totally bizarre to other people, but make perfect sense to us. This is the core idea. You see, we're taught to treat money like it's physics, a hard science with these firm, unbreakable rules. But it's not. It's a soft skill. It's governed by our emotions, our biases, and our own unique life stories. To really understand why, just look at this number. This represents the tiny, infinitesimal sliver of the world's entire financial history that you have personally experienced. Now, look at this one. That tiny personal experience, that 0.0000001% we just saw, well, that accounts for about 80% of how you think the entire world of money works. Your entire worldview is shaped by this microscopic sample of reality. And this brings us right to our own personal financial blind spots, which are so often shaped by one really simple factor: the year we were born. Just take a look at this. If you were born in 1970, you saw stocks deliver these incredible 10x returns during your formative years. You'd probably think they were some kind of magic wealth machine. But if you were born in 1950, you saw the market go basically nowhere during that same crucial period of your life. Your entire view of investing would be completely different. And you see the exact same pattern with inflation. If you were born in 1960, you saw prices skyrocket when you were a young adult, making inflation a constant nagging worry. But if you were born in 1990, you've barely even experienced it. Your financial programming is just wired completely differently. And this is why no one is truly crazy with money. You know, that friend who's terrified of stocks, or the parent who's always obsessing over inflation? Their behavior isn't illogical. It's actually perfectly rational, based on the tiny sliver of the world they've personally seen. And if all that isn't enough to humble us, there's one more big piece to this puzzle. When it comes to the modern financial system, we're all just absolute beginners. I mean, Just look at this timeline. It really puts our challenge into perspective. Currency has been around for over 2,500 years, but the modern tools we're all expected to master for our retirement? The 401k didn't even exist before 1978. The Roth IRA is younger than most millennials.
Think about that for a second. We have millennia of collective human experience with the idea of money, but only a few decades of experience with the idea of funding our own retirement. So if you ever feel like you're just making it up as you go, well, that's because we all are. We're all just winging it.
So the ultimate takeaway here is a fundamental shift in perspective. To get better with money, we have to stop treating it like it's physics with all these rigid laws and start treating it like psychology. Messy, emotional, and deeply personal. The most valuable financial skill you can possibly have is understanding your own behavior.
So I'll leave you with this question. Forget asking what's the smartest financial move. Instead, ask yourself this. What unique experiences have shaped my view of money? Answering that question is the true first step to mastering your financial future.